because I felt it was very important. It was very important to do everything in my power to help preserve the republic that was established 245 years ago. Great patriots gave their lives for this republic, and we're about to see it start slipping away from us if we don't preserve election integrity in this country. So I want to give some general observations of specific events that I witnessed on the 2 days that I served as a poll challenger at the TCF Center in Detroit. And it's important to note that I applied to work at the TCF Center online. I was referred to a website to apply to specifically work at the absentee voter counting board, and I never heard back from them. So I did follow up after a couple weeks of no reply. I called, there were 3 different phone numbers to contact on that website. I called all 3 of them, did not get answers, so I left voicemails at all 3 of those numbers. Again, I did not receive a reply. So at that point, we were within a week or 2 of the election, and I wanted to participate, so I volunteered to work as a poll challenger. Now, I had applied to work there because I heard Detroit was short of poll workers. Obviously, that wasn't true, or else they saw that I identified as a GOP with the GOP party, so they never returned my calls or responded to my application. So that initially I found concerning right off the bat. I did not prepare a statement for my remarks today, so I'll be using the sworn affidavit that I submitted to a lawyer named Sean Flynn, who's working directly with Rudy Giuliani on collecting evidence, sworn statements. I hear in the media all the time that there's no evidence, there's no evidence. We met in Macomb County about 3 weeks ago with Sean Flynn in one of the GOP offices, and he walked out of there with a stack of sworn statements. Statements that, you're familiar with the fact that people made these statements under oath and under the threat of perjury if they lied or were misleading.
1 minute left.
Okay, so 2 of the main observations that I witnessed at the TCF Center on both the 3rd and the 4th when I was there, when I got down there on the morning of the 4th, I went back for an additional day because I witnessed so many irregularities when I was there on Election Day on the 3rd. Immediately upon walking in, I ran into Randy Bishop, and Randy owns radio stations. He's very IT savvy. He said, "Brian, I was here all night. What's going on here is unbelievable." He said, "Let me show you something right now before I leave." So he walked me over to the high-speed scanners and tabulators, and he said, "See all these Ethernet lines running out of the tabulators? They're all bundled together as they accumulate, and then they're all connected to these routers, and then they all go to the main computer." He said, "These are all hooked into the internet, and that is illegal, and it should not be happening because it opens them up to hacking." So I was aware of that immediately when I got there.
That's 3 minutes. Can you
Yep.
put your rest of your remarks in writing for us?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I'm sorry that we're trying to keep moving. Any
Yep,
questions?
I understand.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you for your time today, sir.
Thanks, Brian.
Next, we have this name that I'm doing very poorly with, Hema. Hema, welcome to the Senate Oversight Committee. After her will be Melissa Carone and James Danley. Hema, welcome to the Senate Oversight Committee. Can you tell me how to say your last name correctly?
Kolanagi Reddy.
So now everybody else can know.
The moment I saw you holding on to that card, I'm like, that's me. That's got to be me.
Well, you have 3 minutes, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. This is my first time doing this as a poll challenger at TCF. As an immigrant to this country, as you can tell, we had great respect for America, the elections here. We always thought it has a lot of integrity, whereas the countries we come from, a lot of things happen. But all of that changed the day I went there. Like I was at TCF on both the days, 3rd and the 4th. 3rd was pretty much the same monotonous stuff going on, nothing much to note, other than occasional ballot challenging. But the next day is where I noticed a lot of issues. There was a group of people who were like agitators who were trying to get GOP people in trouble. And from my skin color, everybody assumes that I'm a Democrat. And so they just kind of come to me, and one of the ladies was singing that let's get these MFs out. And I'm like, MFs who? Like, because she thought I was a Democrat. Then when I pulled out my tag, she looked at me and she's like, you're on the wrong side. I'm like, how can you say I'm on the wrong side? I pick whoever I want, right? Because this is a free country. But then I noticed that they were going and getting all the white male Republicans out by, just kind of sheer intimidation, just saying, oh, your mask flipped, you're going to get people killed, like you heard from so many other people. And then what I did was I got trained by both the MIGOP and Election Integrity Fund. So I went to Tim Griffin of Election Integrity Fund and I said, can I have my nonpartisan credentials? And then when I got that badge on, everything changed. Like, people just looked at me differently. I was looked at with a lot of hostility when I had the GOP tag, and now that I have a nonpartisan tag, I was respected at the counting boards. I was respected by the Democrats and the ACLU. And in fact, I was able to even help some of the GOP people from being escorted out by putting myself there and asking why they were even being escorted out and arguing with these people. But the whole environment was so hostile and condescending. And a lot of people have talked about the ballots that were not in the poll book or the system. And I was at a table which had a full stack of this file which said not in EPB/S, which is poll book or system. They were scanning and manually entering them, and the signatures on those sleeves were exactly alike, like a bar graph. And then they were sequential ballot numbers. They started from 2232, and sequence was something that threw me off. I'm like, how does that happen? And most of those people were from the guarded street, and they were being entered manually. So those were the observations that I had. I had all the details, the last names and everything. I gave the affidavit to the Election Integrity Fund. The thing that bothered me was that every time a GOP challenger was being escorted out, all the poll workers, Democrats, and everybody else were cheering. And that was very disappointing because these people were just doing their job. They were not attacking. They were not there with guns. They were just volunteering their time, and they were treated with utmost disrespect.
Thank you for your time, your testimony. Could you briefly go back to just a few seconds ago? You mentioned how you saw some ballots that were sequential, and then you described them somehow, and I missed the phrase that you used. Where they came from, I think you mentioned?
Yeah, it was from Goddard Street in Wayne County.
Garden Street, okay.
Yeah, and they all had sequential ballot numbers, and they were being manually fed into the system.
Okay, thank you. Any other members have a question? Okay, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Next we have Melissa Carone, followed by James Danley, followed by Bobby Tenorio. Ms. Carone, welcome to the Senate Oversight Committee.
Hi,
you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Melissa Carone. I am a resident of Wayne County. I have a background in IT and cybersecurity. I was contracted by PDS staffing to work with Dominion Voting Systems, assisting with IT at the TCF Center. I started work at 6 a.m. on November 3rd, and I worked until 5 a.m. on November 4th. I returned to work at 10 a.m. November 4th and worked until 2 p.m. November 4th. I was initially supposed to return back to work around 4, but I was told via text through one of the other Dominion workers named Samuel that I wasn't needed, that they were almost finished counting. I wasn't going to mention this, being that it has been mentioned numerous times. I'm going to. I was initially supposed to be working. I was initially supposed to be working at the Department of Elections. That was an order from Dominion Voting Systems. They told me that I would be parking in a parking lot and I would be shuttled in through a shuttle. I called my mother and I told my mother about this, and my mom said, no, absolutely not. You're not doing that. I also had a concern about that because I do have two small young children at home and I needed access to my vehicle. What I witnessed at the TCF Center was complete fraud. The whole 27 hours I was there, there was batches of ballots being ran through the tabulating machines numerous times, being counted 8 to 10 times. I watched this with my own eyes. I was there to assist with IT. These people on night shift, I had 4 people on night shift that I've known. One of them I've known for over 20 years. He approached me and said he had absolutely zero training whatsoever, contradicting 100% what Daniel Baxter claims, that they had so much training. He said they had zero. I watched. These people had no idea what they were doing. Okay. Also, the adjudication process, I witnessed numerous people walking up claiming they were both Democrats, saying they were sitting together, judging ballots all day together. I witnessed it all. I was on the main stage with all of the city officials. Daniel Baxter was in on the whole thing, and I am under the impression 100% that at least 90% of those workers were all in on this. There was not a single ballot the whole night, the whole 27 hours I was there, that I saw that was for Donald Trump. Not one, not a single ballot. That is scary. There is no reason for that. Also, I'm gonna say that there was something going on at that Department of Elections, and it's clearly something that's very illegal that occurred there, and I am grateful to God that I did not go there.
Thank you. So, Vice Chair Lucido has a question.
Sure.
You were employed by whom to do what?
Okay, so I am a freelance IT worker.
Okay.
I was employed by PDS, P as in Paul, D as in David, S as in Sam, staffing, to assist with IT work for Dominion. At
The software
TCF,
company.
Dominion Voting Systems, correct. I was with Nick Autonomagis. He's my manager.
I apologize, but this is very... Why did they feel that they needed to have assistance there for the software?
So a couple people have asked me the same question. I cannot answer that. These people were very secretive, and I will say that these people were very, very secretive and just really pushy. Never did I ever admit I was a Republican to these people. The comments that they were making were disgusting.
Regardless of Republican, Democrat, Independent, Green, it doesn't matter. I'm getting right to the heart of it. What was the instated purpose that the software company needed to have the assistance of support staff for IT?
I believe that it was because Nick and Samuel, that are permanent employees of Dominion, Nick is a part owner, that they had to be together on the stage working together, so it looked like they had assistance with IT. Now, I was also not allowed to wear a badge or tell anybody who I was working with.
That's fine. So, your opinion that it was them that needed to be there, you don't know anything if it was contractual, you don't know if there was anything that was going glitchy, which means that there was...
I know of a lot of stuff that...
But my question is, factually, which means today, as you sit here, is there anything you can tell us that was happening with the software where Nick and Samuel had to go assist in this?
Absolutely.
What was that? Okay,
so Samuel was missing for about 3 hours. When he returned, I said, "Where were you?" He said, "I was at the warehouse." I said, "Where's this warehouse?" And I said, "Is it an Amazon warehouse? I don't know. What kind of warehouse is it, right?" And he said, "We call it the Chicago warehouse." And I said, "Okay, so it's in Chicago?" Because they're from Colorado. I said, "So it's in Chicago?" And he said, "No, Melissa, it's in Detroit. We call it the Chicago warehouse." I said, "Okay," and I just walked away. But there was something very secretive that he was doing. There was also they said a big data loss right before they sent Samuel to this warehouse.
What time was that?
That was when Samuel went to the warehouse. That was approximately It was in the afternoon. I believe it was around 2 or 3.
Is that on the 3rd or the 4th?
The 3rd.
Thank you. I'm okay. You have written testimony for the chair?
I have my
And the
second
committee?
affidavit, and I have what I was speaking off of just
Could you
now.
send that to us, please?
Absolutely.
Include your phone number if you could, in case
Absolutely.
we have questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Before you go, please.
Sure.
I have a question. When you testify about ballots being counted multiple times, what are you basing that analysis that they were counted multiple times?
Okay. So, I'm sorry. So the tabulating machines, when a ballot jams, it puts up an error. It'll say discard or recount. So when it puts up that error, when a jam occurs, the correct way to go about it is to discard the whole batch, take the ones that have already been tabulated, put them back into a pile, put the one that jammed on top, and then discard the whole thing, and then rescan them. They were not discarding. So they were just rescanning, counting ballots 8 to 10 times, just recounting them. They had absolutely no idea what they were doing.
So you're saying that they were literally opening up the box, taking the ballots back out of the box, and then sending them through again?
No, they
Okay.
were just taking. So
wanna be
when a
clear on
ballot, okay, so when a ballot when the error came up on the PC in front of them, and it said that a jam occurred, I would go try, because it happened so many times in the 27-hour period. Each machine, it did it between 2 and 3 times an hour. So, because these were folded ballots, they're mail-in ballots. So, when it occurred, and then it threw up the error, discard, rescan. As I just stated, you are supposed to take the problem ballot that got jammed, put it on top of the whole pile, discard it, because that's why the option is there. If you do not discard it, it is recounting it. So they would take the ones that were, say ballot number 25 had an issue. You had already went through 24 ballots. So you're going to put them back all in a pile, and you're just going to rescan it. So it's counting those 24 again, instead of discarding those 24 and restarting.
Oh, but that's what I was trying to ask. So they're literally taking,
Did I answer correctly?
You're saying that they're taking ballots that already went through the machine, taking them and scanning them a second time.
That's absolutely what I said, yes.
So help me understand, because I haven't worked in AV counting center. I've been to my precinct, and when our ballots go into the tabulator, there's no access to them after they're accepted. They go into a sealed box.
Oh,
There's
no,
access
these
to
ones,
them.
no, I've heard that too from other states, that they do drop directly into a steel box. No, the steel boxes were behind them, which I could say a lot about that too, but I won't. But they were using those for barriers for the poll watchers so they couldn't get close, the steel boxes. But no, they were 100% in the counter's hands. This whole process, they were allowed to do whatever they wanted to do. Nick and Samuel that worked for Dominion, they were on the stage. They had a contract employee, me, and another one that was from Texas. I have his name right here, Miles Smiley, 90-year-old man there to assist with IT work. And he did not have any kind of background in IT and worked and lived in Tennessee. So this man was just walking around aimlessly. I was really the only one running around like crazy helping these people.
Thank you for that clarification. I'm not aware that it...
No, and they were responsible.
The machines I've been exposed to don't work that same way, so I was just checking in on that. Senator Tice.
So I'm trying to figure out the whole line of everything here. So you were trained to work with the equipment and the tabulators themselves?
Correct.
And they were going to send you to the Department of Elections?
Initially, that is
So
where
did
I
they
was
have
scheduled.
Tabulators at the Department of Elections?
That's the main question here, huh? Because I was trained on the tabulation and adjudication process, and how many people just came up before me stating that they saw people walking in and out of that Department of Elections. with ballots.
Okay.
As I stated, I was not supposed to even talk about this today,
And
but
then
I'm going
as
to.
they're scanning, they have a pile of them, they're putting them through a scanner, and the pile, once it's gone through the scanner, is still fully accessible to the person
Absolutely.
who's doing the count.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
They could scan them 50 times if they wanted to.
Any other members have a question? Senator Lucido?
Yeah,
Senator,
this is interesting. You were trained to oversee tabulators. Is that what you told us?
I was trained to assist with IT
In tabulators.
and the adjudication process, correct, sir?
Who trained you to use
Dominion.
your technique on the tabulators as it relates to the IT?
Dominion.
Dominion did. Was it their representatives that came to the TCF Center?
It was the owner of Dominion, Nick Economagnis, that came to the TCF Center, which is extremely insane because he's like the top of the top with Dominion, which is he's missing.
When
He's
did you
gone.
meet with them at the TCF Center to get your training?
Okay, so my training was in Allen Park at the hotel they were staying at, right off of Southfield Freeway. It was November 2nd for 1 hour.
The day before the elections?
November 2nd, correct.
The day
sir.
before the election?
Yes, sir.
1 hour training. Was it done by video or was it done with a tabulator?
It was done with a tabulating machine and an adjudication machine in a room, in a conference room, and all we did was walk around it and nothing. We were given a binder, I have it right here, from Dominion about all their image cast, about how their software works. I have every Dominion employee here. I have the ones that were at
How many were with
the
you
warehouse.
in this? How many?
5 total.
5 total.
2 contract employees, 3 permanent employees of Dominion. Let me just say this, there was 1 permanent employee of Dominion. She went by the name of Danielle. Her real name was China, which she told me later. She's the one who told me Nick was a part owner, which was confirmed later on. She was acting very bizarre the whole night, would start crying, would start saying she couldn't handle being there. I saw the van come in at 4:30 full of ballots. That she left an hour before that, had someone pick her up.
thank you.
Mr. Chairman, as long as we get her testimony, I would be intrigued to look at whatever you have
Absolutely,
through the chair.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you.
Hold on. I have another question for you, ma'am. Please. Vice Chair Irwin has a question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I were to take a ballot, an absentee ballot, and I were to run that through a machine multiple times, and that ballot were to be counted multiple times, is that machine going to reflect those votes in the vote total at the end of the day? And is that ballot going to be recorded in the poll book 8 times or something? I mean, what's the...
Why do you think the poll books were so off?
Well, they were off a little bit less than they were in previous elections, so unless
No,
your
they were
allegation
off.
is that...
They were off, 100%.
Excuse me, members of the audience, please respect the...
Sorry, I mean, you asked me a
witness
question.
and-
What do you expect the answer to
Excuse
I was
be?
hoping for an answer, but I don't think I'm going to get one.
Excuse me. I couldn't hear what was going on because too many people talking over each other, so if you could please, Mr.
Sure.
Vice Chair, finish your line of questioning. I'd like to hear the end of it, please.
That was the end of it. There was just one question, which was that, you know, if this were to happen, it would show up in the tabulations being off. And we know...
They were off.
We know to what extent that they're off.
They were off.
Right, yeah, we know that.
So why are you asking? What are you asking me?
I'm trying to ask you if
Sir,
someone were to...
Go ahead.
If someone were to go and run the same ballot over and over and over again, that would end up showing up as a massive discrepancy, right?
Did
We've added up the
somebody took a ballot
discrepancies.
and ran it over and over and over again?
You
Just
did-
one ballot? Or a batch of 50?
Either way, I mean, the batch of 50 is going to be even more.
If you take one and you run it over and over and over again, yeah, people are going to notice that one has been ran over and over. I had numerous challengers come up to me and say, what's going on here? One guy got thrown out because he took a picture of me.
Sure, I'm just wondering why the numbers at the end of the day aren't matching up with the stories that we're hearing. I'm trying to square that circle. And I know there's going to be an investigation of all of these
Your question is as good as everybody
allegations.
else's in here.
Yeah, there's
Why
going to be an investigation
why
of all
isn't it
this, and we're
matching
going to
up?
look into all
It's
these
not
details.
matching up. Everything
Ma'am.
that happened at that TCF center was fraud. Every single thing. Every avenue was
Excuse me.
taken to commit it.
Please. Appreciate your passion, but he feels his question was answered. Appreciate that. I do have one additional follow-up.
Sure.
You mentioned observing ballots arriving
Yes, sir.
late. Do you have knowledge of where they came from?
I cannot say that for 100%. I do not know 100%.
Okay.
Do I assume where they came from? Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Senator McDonald, thank you.
I'll be brief. Your testimony was very compelling, so I just want to go back to what I asked Senator Colbeck. Where is the Department of Justice in this? I mean, without arresting it, I mean, are they even looking into it? I mean, your testimony is unbelievably compelling. So I'm just wondering, where are they?
Okay. Your question is good as mine. So I did call the FBI on November 5th, and
Okay.
I spoke with a woman for at least 40 minutes. The phone disconnected. She had all my information. She never called me back. I had to call them back. I haven't been contacted back since.
Well, you would think that, did you contact anybody from the Trump campaign?
Oh, yeah. I've been
Wouldn't they
talking-
have a pipeline to the Department of Justice? I mean,
I've been talking to attorneys. What I said just now regarding the Department of Elections and how I was scheduled to work there, that is coming out. That is coming out. That will be coming out next week. There's a lot coming. I was not even supposed to talk about that, but a lot of people mentioned it. So you know what? I'm going to tell you guys about it because this is fraud.
okay.
And there was fraudulent activity occurring there.
Thank you. Your testimony was excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, ma'am, for being here. Next, we have James Danley, and he'll be followed by Bobby Tenorio, and then